On this week's episode of the RAG podcast, I was joined by Ben Alexander. Ben is the co-founder and director of a recruitment agency called INTELLECT. Now, INTELLECT is 2 years old with 5 staff and they're a specialist IT recruiter. Ben, actually, this is his second business, and we didn't really talk too much about his current business because actually his first business was a real interesting story and quite a sad story. This is a guy who started his recruitment career at the age of 23, started an agency at 24, backed by an investor, going into partnership with a really close mate, and 7 years of high growth, was effectively forced out of the business by the other 2 partners. And he had to deal with that without any warning signs. It was a huge shock, and he suffered. He massively suffered. Ben had to dust himself off, go again. But in this episode, he was very open about how it made him feel. I think he struggled to talk about it at certain times. But this is a message I really think recruiters need to know. They need to understand that, the RAG is a lot of positive stories, and recruitment ownership can be great, but there's some real dark moments, and sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes it doesn't, despite how successful it can be at times, it just won't work out. So, you know what? This is one that I really hope people get a lot of value from. So, without further ado, Ben, welcome to the RAG podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's good to have you in.
Thank you very much.
It's been a few times you've been in. I think you came into us in, was it December time?
Yeah, I think so. I think initially we came in and we were we've engaged now, haven't we? So I think we're just initially
proud to have you as one of our clients, Ben.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be one.
But it's not this podcast is not all about me though.
Thank
just you. So you know. Look, I've already given you an intro, but I'd love it if you could just give the guests an overview of who you are and what you do.
My name is Ben Alexander. I am the co-founder and director of INTELLECT.
Right, and you are. Tell us a bit more about the agency.
We are a specialist IT recruitment agency within development, DevOps, and data.
Right, and you're East Grinstead based.
Yes, East Grinstead based.
Which is now not my favourite place in the world.
Yes.
I went to visit, for listener context, I went to visit Ben this week, actually. Was it this week?
It was Tuesday. Yeah, it was Tuesday.
And I basically took 2.5 hours to get there from Essex, which was a joke. The M20. I did actually take a wrong turn, I figured out. But it took 2.5 hours. I got there, and then one coffee shop I went in, they let me buy the coffee. They didn't have Wi-Fi, couldn't do any work. The next one, I brought the dog in. They let me buy another coffee, then told me I wasn't allowed the dog in. Then I begged you to can I come and work in your... I had to kick you out your own desk.
You did, yeah. I apologise, yeah. But I apologise on behalf of East Grinstead for your first experience.
And then I opened this in front of your team. I was trying to be like, don't mind me, guys. And I bought the second drink I'd got was a bottle of fizzy water. I just thought I don't want another coffee. Opened it up and it just blew up all over me. And I was like, and then the dog started going mental, and I was like, get me out of this place.
Well, listen, it can't be as bad next time.
No, it won't be. It won't be. Well, so you got what, 5 staff now? 5
staff. We've just hired a 6th. We are starting a new area of the business, a new division, which is really exciting for us.
Yeah, and you and your business partner go way back.
We do. We go way back. We started in recruitment at the same time in 2006, basically a month apart. Interesting actually. So a company called Pinter Consulting, who are a recruitment agency based in Wallington, which is near to Croydon. And if you know Wallington, you'll know Pinter, the business I worked at, purely because it's a bit of a car showroom outside the front.
Famous.
Yeah, exactly. So Ferraris, Porsches, Bentleys, the kind of,
Is that what drew you in?
It is, yeah. It is, yeah. It was. I was working at BT in what turned out to be a business analyst role. I didn't really know what a business analyst was at the time until I started doing recruitment, but I was working as a business analyst. And I actually had a rec-to-rec guy who lived 2 doors down from me.
Right.
Who
he was just knocking on and trying to get some business.
Yeah, right. I think he just thought it's just one of those things that, you'd be good in recruitment. And yeah, he did a really good job, because I ended up taking a job that was an extra hour or hour and a half probably commute a day, $7,000 less basic, but they're a fantastic company to work for. Really, really lucky when I joined. Funny time as well, 2006, just before kind of markets were crashing, but we had a really good training desk, and James and I worked on the same desk.
Let's not talk about markets crashing just yet. No. Have you seen the news today? It's what are we waiting on? decision from Cobra today on whether or not.
I know. It's the first time it's actually all of a sudden 2 bits of news today have affected us. So one of my contractors is actually skiing at the moment in France, and he's got suspected coronavirus.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I know. And I'm supposed to be going skiing next week, which I don't think is going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
No.
Well, Amma's just booked. He was going to Kenya with his missus.
He said
that's not going to happen. His mum was supposed to go to
I
India.
know.
Not going to happen.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I think up until the last 2 days, I recorded a show yesterday. So by the time people are listening to this, David Bloxham would have gone out last week, but it was yesterday. And yeah, I feel like every 12 hours now, the news is just getting more aggressive.
Yeah, we've got for the first time, we've got interviews next week, and the client have actually moved. It's a final as well, and they've moved it to a Skype interview.
Yeah.
So it's,
That's all right though. At least they're not.
Absolutely.
At least they're not slowing down what they need to do. Because at the end of the day, we're going to come through. I think we're going to come through this.
Yeah.
In 2 to 4 weeks, if we do have to self-isolate. By the way, that is a phrase I'd never heard in my fucking life, and now I hear it every 5 minutes. Self-isolate. JJ, even you were like, I'm going to self-isolate. I'm like, off, Jay.
Yeah. What does that even mean?
It's going to be like, you're going to get
lock yourself in your
You're
bedroom.
going to get that's going to be ingrained in. Do you remember that year where
we all
Corona made us
self-isolated?
I fucking hate the word. But it is like this phrase and this feeling, but every 12 hours. But I think we got 2 to 4 weeks personally where we might have to stay at home. Some things will slow down, but we'll control it and we'll come back out the other side. Everyone's still got to achieve what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah,
right?
It's interesting what's going to happen in the recruitment industry. Like I say, I think you and I talk a lot about videos now, just in general within marketing, but and obviously there's a lot of video interviews, but that technology's there, and I think a lot of companies who maybe don't really pull the trigger on it will do it now. I think I think there'll be a benefit off the back of this. I think people realise the value of kind of video interviews and stuff. So
But I just read on LinkedIn today about the Zoom. We're a Zoom user, right? And they were talking about how Zoom are trying to properly monetize. Like they're basically, the free version of Zoom gets you 40 minutes.
Yeah, that's what
and they've removed the dial-in functionality
okay.
like in the last 48 hours. Which, if that's true, I'm sorry, but I love Zoom, but that's not on. And I mean, you'd expect they'd give it away but all these video platforms are trying to make hay while everyone's panicking. So, but I agree with you. I think remote working, all of that. I mean, we're an advocate of that stuff. So, I just fingers crossed for the sector that we're not hit too hard. I think some of the education recruitment companies will be worrying a bit. Imagine if they rely on teachers and if schools shut and anything physical, very physical work that can't be remote, they're going to struggle.
Exactly. I think with us, when you're speaking to, hopefully candidates will have more time. Then if they're at home, you might be able to contact them easier. But then there's going to be a massive backlog, isn't there, in a couple of weeks? So then it's managed.
It could actually be great at the end when everyone's recruiting like mad.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's like, but then there's, is there a backlog of work? Suddenly we're going to go into Easter. I hate May. There's too many bank holidays. It's just like it slows.
Well, that was the reason
down.
we changed our annual. So Hoxo's and we started the business in February, officially March. Sorry. So our annual year was like April to April. And then last year we were like, I'm fucking sick of the year starting and then Easter kicking in. It just you don't get any momentum. So we changed a 9-month year last year. So I completely agree with that. But look, we digress, right? So the first time you joined, you started in a market that was crashing.
Yeah.
You and James, your business partner, were both side by side.
Yeah.
And how long, you went there, a few years you were there?
So I was at Pinter for 4.5 years. So
Did you do well?
I don't. Top bill is a funny one. I did well. I was a top biller, but when I look back and I see numbers that other people did, I wasn't really a top biller.
Would you say that being a BA helped you then in recruitment?
No, I don't know really. I was fairly technical, but I don't know, not really. I don't think so. I just think I was really lucky. I had an incredible desk that I sat on.
I imagine you could understand how business worked internally better than some people, though.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
I went from a teaching background to a recruiter background. So when you tell me IT recruitment, and I'm a school teacher,
absolutely.
I had no fucking idea. I couldn't picture anything that was going on.
Well, I was speaking to, I guess when I was talking to clients as a BA for BT, and I guess I was talking to technical people as the go-between.
Yeah.
So probably did.
Probably helped a bit.
Yeah.
So the business you're in today is not your first business, and that's the one I want to find out more about, because that story's, it's been some highs and some real lows, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely,
tell us, when did you start thinking about being a the first business owner?
Yeah, so the honest truth is I didn't think about it. I become a team leader at Pinter, and I had a couple of guys in the team that I was looking after. And one of the guys was really good. He and I were really good mates. He went to Spain over Easter in 2010. His dad lived over there. Costa del Sol, retired. Villamora, Sol. San Roque Golf Club, beautiful. And he went over there for Easter. It was a golf event. At the evening of this golf event, he ended up meeting a chap who owned a recruitment business, had a recruitment business for 10 years, very successful, very, very different industry. So it was logistics,
Okay.
so very high volume, low margin, as opposed to the permanent IT recruitment that we were doing, which was obviously the complete opposite. And yeah, but by all accounts, I mean, I wasn't there, but they got like a house on fire. This chap who had the recruitment business, a bit of a character, a bit of a gambler in that respect as well. He had like 8 racehorses, had Cheltenham winners, all that kind of stuff, and loved investing in people. Didn't really know enough about what we did, but really bought into James. Both business partners I've had are called James.
Yeah, that's a bit confusing.
So,
Say James won this
Fair
one.
enough. So James won. So really bought into him. He's a great guy, so absolutely understandable why he did. And yeah, just said, look, would you be interested in starting a recruitment business? And I think basically over an Easter break, he kind of thought it was a good idea and said, yes, but I couldn't do it by myself. So he said, anyone in mind? He said, yeah, my team leader Ben, and he and I are good mates, and all live locally and all that kind of stuff. I got into recruitment when I was 23. By now I'm 27, there's nothing to lose. So when he approached me and said, would you be interested in starting a business? When you broke it down, you had a guy who owned a recruitment business who was looking to invest in us. He promised me, you won't lose any money in your first year. I have a back office that you can jump off for all your sport. And all I want you to do is do what you're doing now, but do it for yourself. And he's 24.5% of the business. He was going to have 51% of the business, or he did have 51% of the business, which is something that I've later learned you need to get some buyback clauses in. But it happened so quickly. And I wasn't a businessman at the time. I was a recruiter. I was probably a cocky recruiter, doing quite well, earning a bit of money, and hadn't thought about owning a business. I think I wouldn't say thought, I probably did think about it, but not that at that time. And from a conversation with a guy on my team and a mate, a month later, I'd started a business. So yeah, it all happened very, very quickly.
Wow. So this guy, what was he like, the guy, the investor?
It's a one-off is the easiest way to put him. He's pretty eccentric, pretty loud.
I can kind of picture this guy.
Yeah,
I don't
just
know.
like-
You kind of know what they're like, those
Lives
guys. Lived in Spain, you said?
He lives in Spain, but originally Cheshire,
Right.
Liverpool fan.
Right.
An egg's an egg. Old school, funny. But he just...
Is he a bit older then?
Yeah, but everyone who's listening to this, he was older, but he acted probably younger than me, mate.
Yeah.
To be honest with you,
Just living the life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, lives out in Spain. It's like went to visit him in Spain, and this house is unbelievable. It overlooked I think it's Villamora. It overlooked like 8 million euros. This house is worth. You go and it's incredible. You go downstairs and he had an arcade in his basement.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the guy I would say he's probably 45 years old.
But again, at that point, you're 27. This guy's impressive.
How impressionable, yeah.
And you're like, but also, this is someone who's already been through where we want to get to. So it's like, we're not only getting the money, we know what we're doing, but this guy can help us get to where he is. So I can see why you'd do it. And why not? So how did that, to paint the picture for the people, how did you start this off? Because money's not on it. A lot of people do it on a shoestring because they're tight, they haven't got any cash. We started Hoxo with £100 each desk at the Regis Business Lounge, which was, I've told, it's like an airport dead lounge. It's horrible. We built our own sites. We did everything it would cost us fuck all, right? Yeah. What about you? What was that like?
So learning from mistakes, the business ultimately was successful, but we could have been a hell of a lot more successful. We moved into a serviced office in a place called Whiteleaf, which is in Surrey.
Yeah, I know it.
About Junction 6, and it was we got a 6-man office, and there was 2 of us.
Was that based on
just
a bigger plan? Did you have like a?
No, we just like I say, we had a back who said, go and find an office that you like, have whatever laptop you like, use whatever job boards you
About
like,
10 years ago.
crack on. Yeah, so this is 2010.
Yeah.
So we moved. We like there's an echo across the room to each other. It's absolutely crazy when you think about it for two people. But it's we went out. We were working European markets. So James did a lot of work in did a lot of work in Holland and the Netherlands, and I did a lot of work in Germany. And we got like Monster Europe, which is like an absolute fortune. Like God knows why I did that. We could have just bought the individual country. We just went with what we had at Pinter.
Yeah.
What worked. We wasted so much money in the early days.
And did you have a tight restrictive covenant that you had to stick to? Yeah, didn't break it.
No. And to be fair, Pinter are they're on it. They're one of they're really, really on it. So I think that we had to honour that, and we had to work in. We concentrate. I think when we were at Pinter, I'd say half our stuff was in UK and London, half our stuff was in Europe. We're just trying to diversify. I think that's like a target that we were given. So when we started the business, we just focused on the European stuff, which is all new. And I actually did my first placement. So we started off, and within 3 weeks made a first placement. It was a €9,000 deal, and it was an iPad developer, which I didn't even know exists. Excuse me. And we thought this was a piece of piss. Like 3 weeks, $9,000 deal, feet up, life is good. Two mates just hanging out, doing some deals, and this is great. And then we didn't do a deal for 3 months.
Oh shit!
Yeah, because we found it quite tough like I said, it was a tough time to start.
Did you start questioning yourself at that point?
No. I was still very cocky 27-year-old who believed in himself that I'd make money and I'd bill. Realistically, I probably didn't work hard enough. We started the business in May, did a quick deal, and it was the summer. And whatever 2010, what was that? What Euros or World Cup was on then? Something was
World
on.
Cup South Africa it was.
Yeah.
I remember that year because I was going travelling after. I was a teacher going travelling it was a summer school holidays. Basically, it was my last year as a permanent teacher. I remember it really well. God, I had dark hair back then. Good days though.
Yeah. So so realistically, we probably didn't work as hard as we should have done that year. And then I think kind of back end of the year, you get a bit more pressure. The guy back to us was just very good at pushing you, and it's from a growth perspective and hiring staff. And
did he tell you what he wanted out of it though? If he's telling you to grow staff, like did he say why? Did he want to sell? Did he give you this big grand exit plan or?
No. And this is again how it all happened. And people will listen to this and go, "Oh my God, that just sounds absolute madness." But I defy anybody at 27 years old who didn't have a serious relationship and didn't have given the opportunity to do exactly what do it for themselves, wouldn't take it. But there was no plan. There's no plan. It was just like, do you fancy doing a business? And I'll back you. It's like, yeah, sounds cool. And we just never looked back. Never looked back. We went for it. We made some big mistakes in terms of our first couple of hires. We hired a couple of people we thought could deliver for us, but they had no recruitment experience. Quickly learned that you can't run a business and train up people from scratch without having a contract base. James and I were both permanent recruiters. So that was always going to be very tricky. And it wasn't until the latter years we managed to actually build a contract base to kind of push the business on.
So those first hires were in the first year, were they? Or?
First, yeah. So I think we started in May, and we made 2 placements before Christmas, and they're probably, sounds harsh, they're probably gone before March. We just didn't work out. So yeah, what we did, I think what happened was when we started out, there's a lot of people who were very interested. When you leave, I'm not going to say anything bad about Pinter, but when you leave, I think there's a lot of messages that the business would put out about us going. So I think realistically, looking as a business owner now, you might be threatened about people going and starting. The opportunity was too good to turn down, and would people go with us? So I think there's a lot of people who are kind of like watching from a distance, like let's see how they go.
Yeah.
Like if they do well, like maybe there's an opportunity for me there. So what we did was we ended up taking on board a guy called Mark Stainer, who is just an incredible delivery guy. Worked with him for obviously 4.5 years when we were at Pinter, and he came on board and he was our head of delivery. So we had utter confidence in picking up positions and giving them to him to fill. And that was a big change in the business, hiring somebody who's like a head of delivery, and that enabled us to slowly build. I think it's important to get your foundations in place first if you're going to look to build separate divisions, and that was our plan.
Right. So then second year, the people headcount started growing.
Yeah,
did you make money in year one? Did you? Were you profitable?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so somehow we made a 13 grand profit.
Is that including your salaries paid?
Yeah. So
it's not a lot, but it's
no. Yeah, and it was a funny.
What did he think? The owner was he?
It was great. Honestly, this is the funny thing. It's like he didn't think we were going to make any money in that first year, especially how the market was. But the thing is, he didn't really know enough about IT recruitment or the German, Dutch markets, and didn't know what Java developer was, and just kind of he just looked at the bottom line.
Yeah.
And I think his whole point was, do we make money in year 2? And we made money in year 1, so he was ecstatic. He's just like, go.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think moving into year 2, we started a telecoms division. So IT and telecoms go hand in hand. I thought it was very, very relevant. And
was that a Pinter guy as well?
Yeah, it wasn't very popular down there at the time.
Just swooping in behind the Ferraris and going, yeah, mate.
Yeah, I know, but it's like, the South London IT recruitment market's pretty, there's not many options. So, and we'd worked with these guys for 4.5 years.
Yeah.
I think and they wanted to come and join us. I think they could see it as an opportunity. They could see us doing well and not having the responsibility. I think when I left Pinter, they were a fantastic business, but they're very old school, which I actually look back and I'm grateful for, because kind of school of hard knocks and kind of got pretty tough skin from it. Working to 7 o'clock if 12-hour days, even if you'd hit target, power hours, had to do 3 hours on the phone, and you weren't allowed to go home, all that kind of stuff. And it's stuff that I didn't enjoy doing, and they were still doing it with these other guys. And I think they kind of knew that they didn't have to have that those pressured KPIs to do well. And I think we were just like, look, come and build something for yourself.
Yeah, you're same as us, like come and join us. So you had this like cool group of people, similar age.
Mates, yeah.
Sounds awesome.
It was really cool. And I think, it was very much a lifestyle. We were all very, we were pally. We all went to the pub together. We were going on each other's stag do's and all that kind of jazz. And, again, looking back, was there a little bit, if you have business, you have to have a little bit more autonomy. And maybe if you're friends, it's hard to kind of have that. So maybe that's something.
Did you pay yourself well in year 2?
Yeah. Did you
have choice of that? Could you tell him?
I can't remember if we changed it. So I think it was always a case of no, we give ourselves pay rises. Yeah, it was a case of now we're making money. Looking back at that one, I co-founded that business. But in the end, I was an employee. Sure, like, I'm an owner, and now I make a hire, and it's like this is my money. Then it was like when you got someone pushing you, you kind of feel like
Yeah, I remember at Venquist, like I don't remember ever getting told you can't hire someone. If I was interviewing, it was like get them, go, like because it wasn't my money. I was like cool. Now it's totally different.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
How did you how big did you get by the end of year 2?
Year 2, I think probably about 6 or 7 people. We'd moved to a new office within the service office that we were in. Telecoms division was up and running. We had a couple of people in that division. We'd started, and this is when we started hiring juniors, because I think we had enough senior people in the business to manage and to look after operations and to help train up between us. Yeah. There's no real structure in terms of how we're training people. It's more kind of on the job. But got some really good guys early on actually who came into the business, and it started off. It started going really well.
So how did it evolve into year 3, 4?
So I want to say, I think in the 3rd year we moved into a new office. So we moved out of the service office. We moved into an office that we didn't, that wasn't serviced. It was a bit of a shithole, honestly, but it's funny when it was
massive.
Yeah, massive. So 1,800 square foot, and he was like, right, you're going to move to this office and you're going to kick on, you're going to grow. So we had a massive breakout room. We had enough room to probably get about 30 people, we thought. In the end, the maximum we got to, I think, was 27.
Right.
But we had enough room to really expand and grow. And I think at that time, like I say, 7 or 8 people moving into this office, it was massive. Again, it's kind of felt like when I started out with James and we were in this 6 amount, which we didn't need, and we're kind of shouting across the room to each other. It's similar now. You could spread yourself out around this massive office, but it's good because we also bought all of the furniture without having the people. So we've got a shitload of empty desks, but you've got this motivation that you're going to fill it.
Yeah.
So, and you're being pushed by the investors, like, let's grow. So slowly but surely we started to grow. We took on board somebody to look after a contract base, which is the biggest issue for us. We had a massive gap in our business for contract. We were dipping our toe in here and there, but we weren't contract recruiters. I feel like I am now. This is the thing. In the last couple of years, I've become a contract recruiter. But at the time, my relationships and all I knew was permanent. So where we try and do contracts, we weren't in it enough. I think you have to have somebody just looking after contract.
Yeah, I only ever did contract. It's it's a different skill, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So we managed to get somebody to look after that, and slowly but surely we started to grow our contract base.
Which gives you the predictable revenue to do other things.
Absolutely.
Did it matter though if you had all of his money, or did you still want it? You wanted it to be self-sufficient.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we wanted to make sure we could cover our own costs. Do you know what? When you've got someone like that, you actually want to make them proud. Like you're so taken aback. This guy chose to invest in us and to put his money there. And you kind of think, well, this is. I want to show this guy, like, I'm proof that he made the right decision. But like I say, to do that, you needed a contract base. So we had fantastic months and we had shocking months, and it just won't work out. So moving forward, we started a. The issue was where we're getting pushed to kind of grow. We didn't do it so strategically. Now my business is very niche. At that time, we were very, very open. We had an IT division which kind of covered everything within IT. We had a telecoms division that covered everything within telecoms, and we started a commercial division, which again,
like back office stuff.
Yeah. So Charlie started our
Why?
Charlie Hills. Growth, people, numbers. It was all about kind of people and revenue, and with no real strategy.
Did you start getting clients calling them into you or something like to make you think it was?
No,
did you meet
it was somebody. Yeah, just somebody I knew.
Yeah.
Who, I think she called me up to ask me. Yeah, she called me up to ask me
Pinter.
advice about starting business. No,
oh, wow.
At last,
Whoa.
I know. Yeah. Believe it or not, yeah. So she was. She just knew me, and she called me up to ask advice about starting a business. And I was like, whoa, you starting to start a business? Hey, have you thought about being invested? And yeah, that was that. She started. She brought a couple of girls with her, and there was a little bit of crossover because we pick up some kind of officey, supporty work that we wouldn't naturally work for ourselves. That we could put into this division, but it was again, realistically, like, love Charlie and love the girls, and I don't want to say regret it, but it wasn't the right move for us. We started doing a lot of temp recruitment, which I knew nothing about. So we started.
So like daily temp or weekly temp, like low level, small shit.
And it's just like.
So not shit stuff, small shit. I meant to say.
Well, it was shit stuff
for you, yeah. But some people have a great recruitment business in it. I don't want to.
Oh no, yeah, exactly.
But if you're not, for me, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. I
wouldn't know anything about it, and the roles are just like. But the issue is we had our back office, and literally within no time, 80% of their time was taken up with the temp and stuff, and it was just affecting us. So it made money, but realistically, for the kind of time and effort,
also takes you away from the professional service stuff you're doing. It doesn't always fit the brand, like the type of candidates, everything's a bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. So we, it was.
So how's everything going between you, James, and the investor?
Yeah, wicked. Yeah, really good. He's happy. We're making money. Business is going well. We're on an upward curve. We've moved to a new office. We've got room to grow. We're starting new divisions. It all sounds very, very positive.
It does sound great. So what's that? When did it start to change?
Well, I think what we did the next, just before it started, I didn't say start to change. We hired another contract recruiter to look after our telecom stuff, which is really good, which managed to really kick us on. And I think we were doing a lot of work within Europe, which is a little bit different because there's massive. We're working with companies like Nokia. They're like 90 days payment, £500 a day, is having a bit of an effect on cash flow.
Mad.
So, but it helped us on this massive upwards trajectory. So we got to, where are we now? We probably get to like kind of year 5, 6. James and I we're not probably as close as we were just because the business has grown. I think at that point we got up to 27.
Were you running different teams and stuff, or?
And the issue is we never split our roles enough. No. We were like, again, it's crazy. But you learn, like now, James too, and our roles are completely split. But we were both looking after IT accounts, and we're both picking up business, and we're still managing our core management team. And I think we probably started to not drift apart, but we'd sit at other end of the office as opposed to next to each other. So probably the communication between ourselves wasn't as good, and it started to probably having a bit of an effect now when I look back on it. But yeah, it was all still positive. The business was still going on an upward curve. But I think when we started the telecoms contract division, that was what made the big impact. I think we were covering. Where we started making lots of money, we could suddenly really plan to move on. And we started to have some really, really big ambitious plans because once our costs were covered and we were making some money from a good contract base, we had a very solid permanent team and permanent clients, we could suddenly look at, right, how can we really take this next level? So we got to year 7 And we are planning to move to another office. So we've outgrown the one that we're in.
How's your relationship with the investor at this point? 7 years in,
yeah,
still the same sort of guy.
He's a funny one. So like he's a bit all or nothing. Like he can call me at 7 o'clock in the morning and wake me up, and he's already on the golf course in Spain and asking loads of questions that it's like hard for me to stay on top of. Or you can hear him 2 or 3 times a week, and then you might not hear from him for a couple of months.
Did it change over the 7 years, or was he just consistent?
No, always like that. Yeah, consistently inconsistent. Yeah. But it was I kind of liked. Yeah, you probably preferred not hearing from him because it's like that's when it's probably going well. If suddenly you have a bad week.
Had your life changed outside of work at this point, like early mid 30s, 33, 34?
I moved to a new house, but I don't think I'd changed too much myself. Yeah. I think when you have a business for kind of 6-7 years, you've got a few wars, few scars, few war wounds, you could say. So changed a little bit, but I think it's very much still same guy. And I think that kind of outside of work, I like to think. So.
Yeah. So you got these plans?
Yeah. So we start looking at a new office, and ultimately we'd planned to move to an office in Croydon, right on Croydon train station, 18th floor, big glass windows overlooking the whole of London. We were going for it again. Yeah, this is it. So
how many seats in that one?
We probably get up to about 40. So we're at 27. We went backwards. We had a bit of a culture change halfway through the business actually, which was quite interesting.
What happened?
So we had, to be honest with you, we had one of our top billers, probably our third top biller within the IT side of things. He, it's hard to say. He's a really good guy, but to be honest with you, he started taking the piss a little bit, and it had a bit of an effect on the rest of the team. So he was, he was probably billing, I don't know, 20, 30 grand a month, really, really good. But he was taking the piss, and it got to the point where we had to
He just wasn't turning up for work.
Yeah, so we got to August, and you had like 8 sick days, and we had to change the way that we were working. Everyone was kind of getting a bit of a knock-on effect from this, and we had to kind of look at moving the business forward. And we actually got James Osborne in. He said you need to make some changes. We thought it was going to take 3 to 6 kind of weeks, and realistically, it probably took 3 to 6 months.
Well, I mean, it's tough when key people leave. If I look back at my experience, I mean, I know when I left Venquis, and Amma left with me, it was a tough time for them. But actually, I'd say I was probably one of their best employees. I know I was. I never had a sick day. I worked my balls off. I was the number one biller. I built the biggest team. But I reckon in that last year, I didn't take the piss, but I reckon I was a bit of a negative energy towards the end because I knew my mindset was out. And sometimes you got to cut the grass to move forward, right? So did people follow him out or?
Yeah, there was not to the company that he went to, but I think it just had that knock-on effect. I think as soon as somebody who's perceived to be doing very well moves on, people say, oh, what the fuck are you doing? Why? Yeah. How come you're letting somebody like that go?
And if they're not doing as well as him, they're worried about their own job.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's all about setting the culture. You can't grow a business in that with somebody who's not bought into what you're doing. I think it was the right thing for us to move him on, but it was a hard thing to do, Sean. When you've got somebody who's doing well, I've never been in that situation where you actually kind of have to, bite the bullet and say, this isn't, the greater good. This is like maybe not immediately for us now, but moving forward, this is the right thing to do.
How long after did you? So it was 3 to 6 months after when you felt it was normal.
Yeah. I think, and that was probably going back. That was probably in about year 6.
And did James Osborne help with that?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he just came in. It was quite funny. He came in, and our office at the time when we bought this top floor of this crappy office. We thought it was quite cool, and we had these like white furniture with like these blue perspex screens, and it had a blue carpet.
Sounds horrible.
Yeah, well, no, but at the time I thought it was unbelievable. I thought it was so cool at the time, like really crappy blue carpet. And James Osborne came in and said it. He said, "I've got to be honest, it looks like an NHS ward."
Yeah,
and
it
absolutely did.
Yeah,
it absolutely did. So I think
James. Well done for being direct. You've always been an honest guy, and that's truly honest.
Yeah, so it's good. And so I think off the back of that, we had a culture change. We changed our logo, we changed our branding, we changed our website, we changed our office, and then we've started the contracted division within the telecom side of things, and we're kicking on. We're on a massive go, yeah. And like I say, we're moving to this office in Croydon, stunning office. Really excited to move into it. And yeah, then my life turned around on the 19th of December. 2017.
So you remember the date? Fucking hell.
Mate, I'll
What
never
happened?
forget it. So I'd actually been at a client meeting, client lunch. It was Christmas. And yeah, it was sad to talk about, really. I had a few drinks, went back to the office in the evening, and James actually called me to one side and said, I want to talk to you about quick chat. And ultimately he said, yeah, we were basically kind of pretty direct that they're going to buy my shares out of the business.
And who's they? James and the original investor?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Like, what, and you didn't see any of this coming?
No, absolutely not. And it was, it's hard to kind of quantify because I haven't been in like a long-term relationship. But imagine you are in a long-term relationship. It's, everything's going well. You're moving into a new house.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't see it coming. There's not. You normally in a relationship, if it's not going to work, you can tell that something, negging the other person or whatever it is. And we had a Christmas party a couple of weeks before. We sat on the same table. Everything was great. And then I just didn't see it coming. Massive.
Was
stuff.
there signs that you probably just weren't looking at? They were. When you look back, you could see.
Yeah,
the signs.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think 6 months before that, I think we never split our roles. We started to split our role a little bit, and we probably became a little bit more distant. We split our roles where I was doing the sales side of things, which I enjoy. He was looking after more the kind of business and operations side of things.
So were you not close enough to the back office and
Nah.
the money and everything?
No, which is fine because I trusted him. It's quite. I didn't mind. That's your partner. It's for a business to kick on. You need that trust and you need him to look after it. So
was that maybe why it changed? Because you got close to the numbers, speaking to the investor more.
Absolutely, you
And they
hit
were
the
like,
nail on the head.
Is this guy?
I've got no idea. And like I say, to be honest, I can't kind of guess what happened.
But it sounds like they've gone, do we really need Ben if we've got this whole business now?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm the one controlling it. You're
absolutely.
the one backing it.
I let the reins go.
Were you still billing as well, or not?
Do you know what? I hadn't billed probably for about 2 years at this point. But funny enough,
So you are a big, expensive asset.
Yeah, absolutely. So you nail on the head.
Yeah.
And I absolutely get it from James's perspective because for over a couple of years we had looked at trying to buy the investor out, but he wasn't really having it. It was kind of like whenever he asked, it'd be like grow. So it's like, okay, we'll keep going. And I think that we both felt that we deserved more than 24.5% of the business without question, but we never put this buyback in or anything like that when we started the operation. So we were kind of where we were, and people would be listening to this saying we should just left. And it's not that simple when you grow a business and you grow a brand.
7 fucking years, man.
Yeah. And
so what happened that day? Like, how did you react?
Just like I say, it was crazy. I can talk you through it. So I left the office.
Did you try and argue and challenge it? Or did
No, because it was kind of done like, look, we're buying it. I didn't really know what that meant. We then got numbers. It's like, we're going to do this. This is happening. You're absolutely right. Well, I wasn't
speaking. And they
speaking
had a 2-to-1 stake in.
Yeah, exactly.
I
was outvoted. Yeah, if you're like 24.5%, you're a minority shareholder. You've absolutely got shareholder rights and things like that. But without going into too much depth, it's a little bit like your favourite player putting in a transfer request. He puts in a transfer request, he's going, isn't
Yeah, he's mentally out.
And it's what do? You get the most money that you can from him because he's put in a transfer request. And it was a little bit like that. I think looking back, I knew that I was out and I had to try and do what's best for me.
So that night, what did you do?
So
get smashed?
Yeah, I didn't stay. I went home and I had a couple of calls from one of my mates. And it's these times when I've got some incredibly close friends and you really see who they are. So I was driving home and a mate called me up. One of my other mates was playing football that night, and he asked if I wanted. But I didn't answer the phone a couple of times, and after like the third time, I was like, "What's that?" I didn't really want to talk to anybody. Asked if I wanted to go and watch this game. I just told him what happened. I said, "Look, I've had a bit of a slap in the face. I don't really know what's happening. It's a bit of a shock to me. You are in an absolute whirlwind because you just didn't see it coming." He said, "Oh, listen, meet me at the pub." So I was like, okay. So I went home, went straight to the pub. Bear in mind, I'd already been drinking a bit of wine in the afternoon as well. So I went in and met him, and within 10 minutes, one by one, all my mates started coming in. It gets me upset thinking about it. But he called them up, told them what happened, and it was a Tuesday night, and everyone just came in and started rallying around me. Yeah, amazing. And I didn't sleep that night, just worried. I've never been, suffered from any kind of depression or mental health, but it hit me for 6.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. It's like it's a proper relationship, right? You've 7 years. So
7.5 years by this time.
So what happened after that? How did it progress out?
So he kind of said, look, go away, have Christmas. I was going to New York for New Year with a girl at the time, which, to be honest with you, it's a funny one, but I wasn't in any state of mind to go to New York.
Did
for
you
New
go?
Year. No.
No.
I actually finished the relationship as well. I was
Yeah.
like, look, I'm not in a great place now. I don't think this is a good. It wasn't a serious one, to be fair, but it was like took Christmas and New Year out. A funny story actually that week. So on the Friday, that was on the Tuesday. On the Friday, my mates were trying to get me out. One of my mates took me paintballing for his works do, just to get me out of the house. And he's like, right, we're going to the pub. So the Friday afternoon, I was actually I was at home. I'd been paintballing in the morning. I was going up the pub with my mates, and I was on Instagram. And the office, nobody knew. Where James said, look, just take Christmas and New Year off. We'll catch up in the New Year. Don't worry about it. Go away. None of the staff knew. So I was on that Friday, everyone was breaking up, and I was on Instagram and I was seeing everybody at the tapas all having a laugh and enjoying their stories. Yeah. Just horrible. And I just. What
did he tell them?
He didn't say anything. I think, I don't know. I can't remember now. There's a reason why I wasn't in the office, but nobody knew. And I wasn't going to go and tell anybody, obviously. So it was just horrible to see the story. Anyway, so I was kind of dragging myself up the pub, and I must have looked terrible. And James too. This is when he pops into my life. He's actually moved. He's still at Pinter. He's a director now. He's done well and progressed up the business. But he's moved to East Grinstead, and he actually lives on like a road down from me, literally like less than a 2-minute walk. So I'm walking out the pub, and he's out walking his dog, and he sees me, and he's like, "Hey, what's up?" I was like, "Hey, blah blah blah."
He's got a dog.
James has a dog, yeah.
After all we've talked about,
but
sorry, I've just had to interject.
Yeah.
Because I've just like totally killed that story. But
no.
This is a guy that every time he talks about getting an office dog, he's so against it, isn't he? I brought Henry, and he was like, we don't need him. So he's got dogs.
He's got a dog called Harvey. It's like it's his firstborn. He's like, it's his boy.
I thought he'd hate dogs. I just got the invite.
No, he loves dogs. He doesn't. He just only his own. I think, and doesn't want them in the office. Yeah,
James Peachy, I'm sorry, I completely underestimated your dog. Yeah. Right, so let's get back to it.
So he sees me walking. I see him walking his dog, and
tell him all about.
No, I didn't actually. I just kind of said like, how's tricks, how's work. I hadn't told anybody. My family knew, my mates knew, and that was it. Because I didn't really know how it was going to pan out. I was thinking this time. I was thinking, can I get back in? Is there like, can I?
I don't want overreaction.
Or? I don't want to leave this business. It means so much to me, and. Carried on, went out the pub, all this stuff. And this is funny enough, when you asked me if we tried to get James into the business, we actually did. Probably around year 6, something like that, I'd approached him and said, look, do you fancy coming and looking after an IT division, blah, blah, blah. He thought about it, but it wasn't really right for him at the time. And like I say, he was a director at Penn, so it had to be something really special for him to move on. And anyway, he went home to his wife, and he actually said, apparently, he's like, shit, I've just seen Ben walk. I go, God, I'm so glad I didn't go and join him. He said, he looked like shit. Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, I'm laughing. But
no, it's true. Yeah. But he had no idea. He goes, oh my God, he must be absolutely under it. Like, fuck starting a business, all this stuff. So that was that. And I think that was the 19th of December. December, like I say, Christmas was just terrible. I just miserable. I wasn't myself. And that January was just horrendous. I bought another house by that time. I'd moved into another house, bigger house. I was living in there by myself at the time, and I was just rattling around in this place. I was drinking a bottle of wine a night. I couldn't sleep. Okay. I was waking up
at January time.
This is January.
Horrible month to be.
Horrible month. Keep staying out of the office again. Nobody knew what was happening. What was
going on in the back? Were you having conversations daily with them, or?
No, I think so. When we came back in the new year, it was a funny one because without going into depth, it was just like we started talking about it and how it would look, and it wasn't nice, to be honest with you, especially because you forget this is one of your best mates.
Yeah.
I'm close to his family and vice versa. So it was difficult conversation we had. I was obviously speaking to the investor. Everyone was trying to be as amicable about it as they could, to be honest with you. But it was but for me, I didn't know what I was doing. It was like, I had no idea of what I was going to do next in my career. Yeah. I thought this is my my business that I was growing.
Was your shares worth a lot at that point?
It's a difficult one to compare. We were halfway through our financial year, and we were on target to make some serious money, and hence moving to the new office, all that kind of stuff. And I think if you would look on a projection, yes, but realistically, the financial year was from a kind of year and a half before that, and it was okay, but not crazy good. So there's an argument to be had, and that's where there was a bit of a debate about it. But ultimately, again, like I say, I'll look at that transfer scenario. If something's broken down, you just got to kind of get out of it the best way you can. And I was I hated life at that time. I was at home. I wasn't sleeping. I had terrible anxiety. I was trying to negotiate things over email, and every time your stomach dropped, every time an email dropped in, it was terrible, terrible, mate. Honestly, and all I wanted to do was get away. And as a salesman, you want closure. So I think that I could have dug my heels in again. If I was giving myself advice now, I might say, you shouldn't leave. You should sit, but where I was, where my head was at that time and what was going on in my life, I wanted out. I wanted as best I could, as quick as I could, and to get away.
Yeah, I think I'd be exactly the same.
So listen, there's third world problems, right? I've got a good payoff from a business. I'm in a good position.
Yeah, but it's still like, look, we're not here to talk about third world problems. We're talking about recruitment ownership and what it's really like. Yeah. And this is a story that people need to fucking hear, because it isn't all. A lot of my episodes of the Rag have been all glory, and there's been bumps in the road, but it's ending positive. Whereas this is one where you've effectively been forced out of an organisation.
Yeah.
So how long did that take for you to get the closure on the deal?
A month. So literally January, it was done. So.
And when did the money was hit straight away?
So
it's all done privately through.
Yeah.
Through this investor.
Exactly. So
did he change at all, the investor, at that point? Did James lean on him for being a bit more the bad cop?
Yeah, absolutely.
I imagine
you
that.
literally took the words.
I can just feel it.
Good cop, bad cop. Yeah, exactly. Listen, he's a really successful businessman, and I've got nothing but respect for him. And like I said, there's two sides to every story. There's a reason that I don't think for one second that James would have done this. We're mates. I don't think that he ever would have. What I'm talking that I went through now, I'm sure that he didn't want that. I think he wanted more of the business that he felt he deserved, and vice versa. The fact that the last 6 months he had more control of the business and more relationship with the investor, this is how this has come around, I'd have guessed. But it is what it is. And I think that I needed to come out of it and get away. And I did. And I think the money hit my bank and I went to Australia the next day.
Really?
Jumped on a plane, got away for a month.
February?
Yeah, so I went away for the whole of February.
Go?
So?
Where did you go in Oz?
So I went to Adelaide. So good story. So when I was 21, I went travelling through some friends. I met an Aussie chap who had a family out there, but a super inspirational guy. Yeah. Fireman, so like lifesaver. He was a football coach of AFL. Just an all-round legend. And I learned a lot from him when I was 21, just because I actually lived in Adelaide and I lived with him for a bit. There was two of us travelling. We lived with him and his family.
Oh, wicked.
Yeah, and we always had a really good relationship. And in my kind of hour of need, I knew that I had to kind of get with this guy. Like, he would sort my shit out. So
it's crazy, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's certain people in your life that just sort you out when it's like that.
Yeah, so I literally jumped on a plane, went over to see him. And it was mad. Do you know what, Sean? Because that was the first time, 7.5 years, that I've gone away and not had to look at my phone. I've got no business to worry about. So if you go on holiday now, you're always looking at what's going on. And you never really switch off. And the longest holiday time that I'd had in 7.5 years was 10 days. I hadn't had anything longer than 10 days. So it was pretty mad to go away and just to kind of switch off from everything.
What did you do in Adelaide?
It was like Rocky training again. But this is like, when Rocky's like going to suddenly, he's coming back now. Rocky it's like you've got the training montage music. We're up at the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning, got my shit together, started talking a lot about what I was going to do. And at this time I've got like plans, like I'm doing 20 different things.
Not all recruitment?
No. I thought about becoming a football agent, thought about becoming like involved in blockchain technology. I was thinking about all sorts of different stuff.
Was the money enough to sit on it for a while? Not
really. Probably like a year.
Yeah.
Probably a year. But then at the same time, I, like I said, not long ago bought a new house, so there's massive kind of commitments that I had there. So spent a lot of time out there and thinking about what I was doing. I was in contact with James. As one of the options, obviously James. So James too. He had been in touch with me in January when I was at home because he obviously lives quite close.
Did he find out?
Yeah, I spoke to him. I told him about what's happening. And one of my lots of ideas was to start another business and see if he was involved, if he was interested in it. And I think that very quickly he was. I think he was at a stage now at Pinter where it's time for him to move on. He'd been there a number of years.
But it was like the perfect storm for him because you've gone and learnt a lot of shit that he'd not learned. He'd learnt stuff in corporate you'd not learned.
Yeah.
And actually you could start on a level playing field.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, obviously we talk about what our business is going to do moving forward. He'd actually been involved in consultancy sales as well. Yeah. So they'd had a consultancy arm. So it was like it was absolutely perfect, and you can't make it up. He was on the road just down from me and all this kind of stuff, and he started pushing it more than me probably. He was like, look, I think this is a good idea. I think we should do it.
Was he still working there as well?
Yeah, he was still working there. Yeah. So I went away and I was in contact with him when I was in Australia. We were talking about shan't we? And I think that I kind of got when I was over there with Rod. Rod's the Aussie guy. He's like, look, you know what you're doing now.
Sounds like a good Aussie Rod.
Oh yeah, he's a rocket, mate.
Good on you, mate.
Good on you, rocket.
Good on you, mate.
Yeah. So he was like, look, I was waking up in the morning and I was having my breakfast and he'd be showing me like a YouTube video inspiration and it was just like, come on, I can do this again. I know the mistakes I've made. I know how to do it properly, but it was jarring. The 7.5 years that you put into growing that business, it's like, God, can I do that all over again? So that's what I needed the confidence to do. And I think that James, as a fresh person, start a recruitment business was perfect. He was like, look, we can do this, blah, blah, blah. When I was away with him, we kind of decided, this will work. Let's make it happen. So it was a different.
So how long did that take for you to get going again?
So like I said, I was away for February. I'd agreed to come out of the previous business, and I think I might have like a 3 months, so I could start again in April. And
same clients, or did you have a...
No, yeah. So this is actually it. So where I wasn't so happy with my payoff, we negotiated. The only thing was a 6-month covenant on clients. So there was like nothing about anything else. I could work in recruitment, I could start a business, take stuff, whatever it was. So we're in a good position. But James had a 3-month notice, so he's obviously a director. So he would have
had a covenant as well.
Absolutely. So I think we got to. So I came back at the beginning of March, and James had. And James decided to put his notice in. So it's obviously, again, it's like quite obvious what's happening here. Like everyone's heard that I've left 24/7. That James has put his notice in. It's like they're starting together. And the funny thing is, there's a bit of a rumour mill. There's only 5 people that I think knew. Like I think James's brothers knew. My mum and like a mate knew that I was going to do this, and nobody else knew. But the rumour mill was just
quite
bonkers.
a tight community, then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everyone knows everyone.
Well, I didn't want anyone knowing that I started up again. I didn't want anyone to know my ideas, my plans, because obviously I wanted to do it a bit differently. But the good thing is, James's brother is an accountant, and he works for a number of recruitment companies, so he knows the game. Yeah. And it's like, again, it's someone that you trust. And his cousin's like a web designer, so it's like we could do this so cheap. Start off if I've got this big house that I'm rattling around in, like let's go work in my kitchen. So ultimately we started in April. I started in April from home. James was like a month behind me, I think. So yeah, March, April, May. So he could start end of May, June time, I think.
It's a couple of months then, isn't it?
Yeah. So I was a couple of months myself, which is cool because I was also doing like a bit of kind of freelancing work with a startup blockchain business, helping them out with some strategy work up in London. So I'd committed to that before I really knew what I was doing. So I was kind of doing that during the day, but also started a recruitment business and I was back on the tools. And you've got to remember, I hadn't been on the tools for 2 years. So it was quite a change for me. But soon got about adding people on LinkedIn. It's just so simple. I literally worked in my bedroom and I was just adding people on LinkedIn, constantly adding people on LinkedIn. And what would happen is people would accept me. I'd look at their profile and see if they're good. And I'd literally just try and say, look, I'm an independent recruiter because I didn't have a company at the time. And I'm interested in marketing your profile out. I think you've got, good background, skill set. I'd love to talk to some people about you if you're interested in opportunities. And it was an approach that really worked. Whereas I was coming to someone trying to sell a job from an agency, it was like, hey, I'm independent. I'd love to market your profile. And I did that with half a dozen people. And then I kind of opened up my black book and started talking to contacts and who could I introduce people to. And yeah, again, funny enough, it's 3 weeks, did a $9,000 placement.
How did you come up with the name Tech Intellect this time?
Good one, yeah. So that was actually, again, when I'm in my funny stage, I'm like, right, Phoenix, what a great name. Phoenix rises from the ashes. Like, I've had a really crap time. I'm back, all right, Phoenix. And then you go to Google and there's like a million Phoenixes.
There's so many.
Yeah. And I was like, shit. So James's brother actually came up with it. He's got a couple of brothers, and one of them came up with it. He's actually quite creative, his brother's DJ, but he actually came up with the name. And James called me up when I was away. I think it was just when I was coming back, and he said, what do you think of Tech Intellect? I've got a name, I love it, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I'm not really feeling it. I'm not really feeling Tech Intellect. He's like, no, think about it, blah, blah, blah. And then he starts sending me pictures of like,
what does it mean
logos.
though? Is there any meaning?
No. It's just a name that we like the sound of. Yeah. Tech Intellect. I think it rolls off the tongue quite well.
Tech Intellect, yeah, it does. It's almost like one word. Yeah. It's not.
Yeah, and I think it's a bit unique, and it is unique because there's no other Tech Intellects. If you search that, we come up. So, And I think kind of like Intellect, like kind of you think about technology, you think about knowledge, and So
how was it different? If you can compare the startup bit to the first time round, you and James.
Yeah.
This time in your kitchen, not in a big office.
Yeah,
this time on your own cash, not on anyone else's.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wiser, older.
Yeah.
What was different apart from the obvious?
Yeah. So this time I was from a cash flow point of view. So I had a bit of money behind me, so I could invest in the business. But at the same time, I was at home. I had a laptop, and that was it. And I think that anybody who wants to start a recruitment business has got to have unbelievable hunger. And I think that the time that I took out, I really found it. I fell out of love with recruitment. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Found that hunger and the desire to really want to kind of grow and to build something special. So I think that time when I was by myself, I was just so focused, and I was doing some kind of freelancing stuff during the day, and I was working all the evenings. And I think just the whole approach was different. My mindset was completely different from, this is my money, this is my approach, I'm not going to waste anything here. So, and it went really well, mate. It went really well, really soon. Within the first, this is when I started kind of bigging myself up. Made a $9,000 placement in 3 weeks. In 4 weeks, I'd done an $18,500 placement. And all of a sudden we were off and running. It was, and I remember the emotion of the guy that I placed first is an absolute legend, still to this day. And I tell him this story all the time. That it was my first placement when we started the business, and I just remember the emotion of kind of like that first placement. And this is a business that's mine, and this is we're really going to kick on now. So it was we stayed in my kitchen for 6 months the first time. So
I love it. It's like. I don't know. I'm getting like this energy off you now. That's like I felt you go into some darkness then and then back out.
It's horrible to talk about it, mate, because I don't talk about it anymore. I kind of like block that out. And it was almost like decent therapy to talk about this. It's a horrible situation, but it happened.
Yeah.
And I think the message to people
Have
is
you ever spoke to James again?
No, yeah, but briefly. I think it's one of those where I haven't, and I don't want to, but we will bump into each other.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. You must see.
No, I don't. Listen, I don't hold any, say, grudges. If I think back to how I felt, it was horrible. But if I saw him, I wouldn't have any.
What's happened? How are they getting on T4?
I shouldn't laugh. They actually went to administration 9 months after I left.
9 months after?
Yeah. And I'm not saying that's anything to do with me, but they went to administration. I think it's probably to do with the cost of the new offices and all that kind of stuff. But so it backfired.
Did they lose a lot of people when you left?
Not initially, I don't think, because they moved to the new office, so it's quite cool and fresh and new, and it's like, so I think that everyone's quite excited about that. But it was
maybe you underestimated the parts you did do.
Yeah,
I think now looking at me and Amma as a unit. I don't think we probably both do. We don't realize how much we both do in different ways. And if you I remember when we went away for a couple of days, and I was like, "Fucking hell!" Like he's definitely doing stuff I'm not anywhere near, and vice versa. Now we've been best mates since first day of uni in 2004. So I really, if something like this happened with us, I'd be. And we haven't got an investor. There's no money behind it. It's just two of us. I would be fucking a gobsmacked, right? Yeah. But and I hope it would never happen. Yeah. I'm confident it'd never come from me. But, mate, do you know what? I'm just really pleased for you. Like, I genuinely feel good for you now that you've.
Yeah, thank you.
It's almost like being in a really shit relationship, isn't it? And you hear them people that they do their best, but actually it's the best thing ever to go out and meet someone new and do it again, but do it again with a. And how different is your day-to-day with James too?
Well, James too. Peach, you know him. He's
can you take James too back to the office now? Just he's gonna punch me next time.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be the next East Grinstead trip.
Yeah, exactly.
Get a smack on the nose off James.
Yeah, exactly. He's just a complete different character. Like he's a family guy. He's got 3 kids. He's like the first business partner, James, was we were quite similar, I think, in terms of what our interests were, what we did, where we went, holidays, whatever. And James that I'm working with now is so confused in saying it, isn't it? He's a very different character, but we bounce off each other and work very, very well. From day one, it was like, right, he's better than me. I'll hold my hand out. He's a better recruiter than me. He was doing the job longer than me. He was a director of a really kind of like hardcore business with strong KPIs, with bigger challenges. I loved it. Give him the responsibility to look after it. He's very good at. I like coming out and being a bit more creative and looking after accounts and what have you. It's allowed me a lot of freedom to actually be a really good biller. Since I've started this business, I've never built so much money. But James, bless him, he's just a legend. He looks after the stuff I have no interest in, like GDPR, like, you know, all this kind of stuff. It's like, man. But he's like I say, it's a different character, but it's a better blend.
It sounds like you've had more of a split role from day one.
Yeah, absolutely. But we just, you know, again, I knew what happened, what we went wrong the first time. It's like, right, okay, you can look after this, I'll look after that, and it worked really well.
So what's the future hold for you?
So we are. It's very exciting. I mean, I think good couple of years. We had a good first year. The second year is just finishing now. Really good year, really good numbers, really, really happy. And we're looking to start a consultancy arm now. So it's something I've always wanted to do. I think in the last 14 years, our biggest clients have been consultancies. So think about it. Consultancies are placing time and materials. They're putting people on site to deliver projects and charging people out a day at maybe, I don't know, anything between 750 and maybe 1,200 quid. So from a recruitment point of view, if we're placing contracts or permie guys, the margins are just a hell of a lot bigger. But where we've always wanted to do it, it was always very difficult to do. My network is very much technical and kind of, I guess, architects, senior developers, CTO type guys. But for them to go on board and to suddenly start picking up work to deliver, it's not so right. You need a technical delivery manager. You need somebody who knows their stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Who can win clients, deliver work. And we partnered with, partnered, I think partnered's the right word, because we're starting a new division with a girl called Amandeep, who's incredible. She's amazing.
She's hilarious as well.
Yeah. She's not backwards and coming forwards, is she? But she's
tough lady from Leeds who put me in my place pretty quick.
Yeah. So she's awesome. She's going to head up our consultancy division. So it's just different, Sean. So now we're not going to companies and saying, have you got any jobs? We're going to companies and saying, what are you doing with your data? You know, it's such a different sell. You know, we're blurring the lines between, I guess, you know, consultancy and recruitment. You're solving problems through talent. Yeah.
IR35 coming in as well. It's quite a clever time to start thinking that way.
Yeah. I think a lot of businesses, listen, it's nothing new, is that businesses do this, recruitment companies. So.
Of course. What about you personally? What's the future for you? What's going to make you happy long term, do you think?
I'm just super pumped about this consultancy. So I feel it's my calling. I think I've never been more confident about anything before. I really believe in Amandeep and what she can do, and I really believe that we can kind of support her and to kick on. So from my perspective, I love recruitment. I feel like I love recruitment. I'm back in love with recruitment now. I think it's an amazing industry. I think there's so many opportunities. I think even in, you know, things like the coronavirus at the moment, there's always an opportunity for the recruitment industry. And I think that Amandeep's she's got the drive and the hunger of starting something herself, and we've got the experience and again the know-how and the backing. So for me, it's all about pushing that business forward. Our staff that we have at the moment are really important to me as well. They're very, very loyal. A couple of them came with me from the last place, and I really want to kind of kick them on now. I really want to help them have everything to push on. I don't set goals in terms of like 3 years, like this is what we want to be earning money wise. We used to, as a business, I used to do that, and now it's more of taking care of, I guess, culture, opportunities, clients, structure of the business, and then I think everything else comes into play off the back of that. So yeah.
Look, you remind me of myself quite a lot. Like, you've got that energy of I can imagine it's like me and Amma bouncing off. I'm usually the visionary and get excited, and then he makes shit actually happen, and I think I can see that in you guys. But Ben, my final question: if you could go back to the 27-year-old, sorry.
Yeah. In
that 6-man office, what would you tell yourself?
Get a 2-man office, first of all.
Get out of it.
Yeah, right. You don't need to, I think, okay, so it depends if you're going to do it. I'm not somebody who could do it by myself. I think I'm bouncing off somebody with a partner. I'm too all over the place. So
you'd split the roles is what
I think, exactly, from day one. So I think it's really important to get structured, to get somebody who plays to your strengths and can bounce off each other. And managing costs. I think if I look back at, I'd have I'd niche. So we were very open in what we did. You know, now we're very focused around kind of data. And I think the last year or so we've really niched into data, and I think we've got some great clients and great projects around data. So I think, you know, it's important if you're starting out to niche. If you're working with a business partner, split your roles, talk about, you know, how you can bounce off each other best. Just manage the cost. Like, we just spent a fortune. You don't need to. And when we started this business recently, like I say, I just did it off LinkedIn, from headhunting people, nothing else.
Yeah.
So yeah,
mate, thanks so much.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that, because I hope it, like I say, I hope it does you good to reflect on it, because you've been through something there that not many people have, and people fucking will. And you know what? I hope if you can help one person who's also been through it, or might be feeling that shit's going on in their business today, then I hope that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Obviously, we're working with you, so we'll keep an eye on what you're doing. But are you open for other people to reach out and ask some questions after back?
Yeah, more than happy, anytime.
So if there's anyone out there who's feeling similar, who's in a situation where they might even be an employee, but they still don't feel like that the decisions are theirs, they feel like they're being pushed slightly or whatever, reach out to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I look back at, the 6 months prior to my exit, I think that when you're talking about the kind of warning signs that I didn't really realise, I think I would understand those better now, and I can explain those to people. So yeah, absolutely, no problem.
Wicked. Well, look, Ben, you're a legend, mate.
Thank you,
so
mate.
much.
All the
Awesome.
best.
Guys, that's another episode of The Rag. As I mentioned on last week's episode, I will aim to be back next Wednesday. We've got guests booked in, so all around the coronavirus dependent. By the time this goes out in a couple of weeks, things might have blown over. Hopefully they will, but if not, then I wish you all the best. If you are enjoying this episode, as always, do us a favor, get on LinkedIn, start sharing your thoughts and your comments. Effectively, it simply helps us reach more people. And all I want from this show is to help recruitment owners grow, and more great recruitment owners start, and the ones that are already there to excel. If you're on iTunes listening to this, please give us your 5-star rating, and again, push us up the rankings on there too. So have a great week, whatever you're doing, wherever you are. I hope things are okay for you, and I will see you all again soon.